Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astotar Satashi Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindra Bhaktavedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasvi Gaura Bhaktavedanta Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So I think
Dandavad Pranam, we are reading the Prabhupada Lilamrita now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
So we are reading from Prabhupada Lilamrita. It is volume 2 and chapter 43. The heading of the chapter is Beginning the Temple of Krishna Balaram. To build a temple in Vrindavan should not be so difficult, Prabhupada thought, and he became impatient with the delays. Concerned that the devotees and architects not make the building too costly, he said that they should go ahead with the plans he had approved, even if the building were to be a little cheaper than in the original plan. He was Hare Krishna. He is concerned that a competent disciple oversee the work so that ISKCON didn't get cheated. As early as April 1972, Prabhupada had asked that the deities in Vrindavan be Krishna and Balaram. Krishna may be black and Balaram of white, and the pose of the black of the Back to Godhead magazine is very nice. He asked that as a sign to be put out from front announcing Sri Krishna Balaram Mandir. One reason Prabhupada chose Krishna and Balaram as presiding deities was that most of the Vrindavan temples were of Radha and Krishna. ISKCON temple would be unique in Vrindavan. Another reason was that the ISKCON land was located in Ramanreti, an area of forest and soft sands where Krishna and Balaram had enjoyed their childhood pastimes 5,000 years ago. To celebrate and worship the youthful sports of Krishna and Balaram in Ramanareti was fitting. Although thousands of years had passed since Krishna's event in Vrindavan, the same atmosphere and many of the same sights and sounds still prevailed. Peacocks ran across the sands or sat on the rooftops or in trees. The cooing and the chirping of pigeons, cuckoos, and the sweep of the parrot's green wings were eternal sounds and sights of the Vrindavan forest. In Krishna, the Supreme Person of Godhead, Prabhupada had described how Krishna and Balaram and their cowherd friends played in Ramanreti and similar places. Hare Krishna Prabhu, I am stopping here.
Jai. Hari Hari. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we're going to begin our Srimad Bhagavatam class. This morning's class, we are going to speak from 6th Canto, Chapter 1, text number 15. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Before we read text number 15, I'm going to go to the summary of chapter 1, and we'll read that to give us a bit of context, which I think will be helpful. So, reading from the History of the Life of Ajamil, chapter 1 of the 6th canto. Throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are descriptions of 10 subject matters, including creation, subsequent creation, and the planetary systems. Shukadeva Goswami, the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, has already described creation, subsequent creation, and the planetary systems in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th cantos. Now, in this 6th canto, which consists of 19 chapters, he will describe Poshana, or protection by the Lord. The first chapter relates the history of Ajamil, who was considered a greatly sinful man, but was liberated when 4 order carriers of Vishnu came to rescue him from the hands of the order carriers of Yamaraj. A full description of how he was liberated, having been relieved of the reactions of his sinful life, is given in this chapter. Sinful activities are painful both in this life and in the next. We should know for certain that the cause of all painful life is sinful action. So it's important, I think, for us to understand this, how the Bhagavatam relates to our daily lives. It's not just a story for us to think about, oh, there's Ajamil and the Yamadutas came and then the Vishnudutas came. We get a mental picture of that scene. So this is part of what the Bhagavatam is delivering. But we're picking up that the idea of the Srimad Bhagavatam and all its various cantos and pastimes of the Lord and his devotees are there to instruct us how to navigate our way through life, which is very important to us because we are drowning in an ocean. That's our actual position. Our existential position may look very nice. I have a nice house. I'm living in this country. I have these children. I have so many different things. But the actual position, sorry to burst the bubble, is that we're drowning in an ocean of material existence. Sometimes we get our head above the water for a few moments and take a grasp of air, and then material nature pushes us down into the waves of the material ocean. So this the Bhagavatam is repeatedly giving us examples of so many situations of different living entities and how they have been rescued from this ocean of material existence by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all merciful. So the portion, I mean, in the 6th canto is the protection of the Lord. And the Lord is one of the main features of the Lord. He's always offering protection to the conditioned soul, to the living entities, so that they can come out of their illusioned existence. Amazing, isn't it? The illusioned existence is so powerful. Let's continue then. Sinful activities are painful both in this life and in the next. We should know for certain that the cause of all painful life is sinful action. On the path of fruit of work, one certainly commits sinful activities, and therefore, according to the considerations of karma kanda, different types of atonement are recommended. Such methods of atonement, however, do not free one from ignorance, which is the root of sinful life. Consequently, one is prone to commit sinful activities even after atonement, which is therefore very inadequate for purification. On the path of speculative knowledge, one becomes free from sinful life by understanding things as they are. So we're seeing there's a progression here. Progression from fruitive activities where one becomes consumed by the desires for fruitive activity, and how that recommendation is atonement for sinful activities performed due to pursuance of material desires. Then beyond this path of fruitive activity, there is speculative knowledge. So on the path of speculative knowledge, one becomes free from sinful life by understanding things as they are. So we'll talk a little bit about this more. Therefore, the acquirement of speculative knowledge is also considered a method of atonement. It's a good idea to try to understand why we're suffering and why, yeah, and what's what. In fruitive activities, generally, we don't understand what's what. And in speculative uh, knowledge, we try to find out what is this, what is that. That we understand Sankhya. Sankhya means to count. It means to analyze and count. This is this thing, this is that thing, this is how that is working, this is how this is influencing that. That's how the effect is, this is the cause. So it's a very analytical study. While performing fruitive activities, one can become free from the actions of sinful life through austerity, penance, celibacy, control of the mind and senses, truthfulness, and the practice of mystic yoga. So these are very elevated activities. Quiet space is also considered performing fruitive activity. Yeah. So there's so many things, and we think, wow, this sounds like devotional service. Actions become free from the actions of sinful life. That sounds good. Through austerity, hey, I'm told we're supposed to do tapodivyam putrakayena sarvam. We're supposed to perform austerity, penances. Okay, celibacy. Yeah, that's a big one. Let's become celibate. Wow. Okay. Control the mind and senses, truthfulness, and the practice of mystic yoga. Continuing Prabhupada's purport, by awakening knowledge, one may also neutralize sinful reactions. Then Prabhupada says, neither of these methods, however, the fruitive activity or the cultivation of speculative knowledge, both of those, however, can free one from the tendency to commit sinful activities. So the Bhagavatam goes into great detail to explain this position. Yenyera vindaksha vimuktamaninas tvayasta bhavada vishuddha buddhaya arura krishena param padam tata padantyada anudrita yusmadangraya. It's a famous verse which states that the intelligence may think that one has become liberated by the performance of uh, cultivation of knowledge and rising to the platform of impersonal understanding of Brahman, that we are not of this material energy, but we are of the spiritual energy. And I may as well remember, as I'm trying to remember these points that I wanted to make today, because it's very natural. Prabhupada mentions in Bhagavatam that the process of impersonal realization, it, it it will not ultimately be able to, we know from that verse that I just quoted, that it will not be able to maintain one completely. And it's, again, very bewildering because the conditioned soul, we see, if we actually come in contact with Nirvisesha Sunyavadi, the impersonalist, and the Buddhist or Sunyas, then we see they appear very peaceful. They appear very saintly. They appear very kind. It's not that these people are like demons with horns coming out their head. They're actually perceived, especially by the non-devotees, as very saintly. Why? Because they've detached themselves to a great degree from this material existence, and they're cultivating good qualities. They're cultivating peacefulness, honesty, truthfulness, non-violence, so many things. So they appear, quote unquote, very spiritual. But this is different from the devotees because this is on the material platform. So they may have arisen to this platform of spiritual detachment from matter, but then because they don't find full shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, what's that word? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Arurukushena parampadam tada padantiyada anudita angreya. They don't have the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Then they will do things which are very benevolent, very meritorious. They'll open hospitals. They'll feed the poor. I think we mentioned this last time I spoke, that, and we'll be discussing these things throughout this chapter, that they're very meritorious, but they're on the material platform, and one will fall down from the performance of those activities. The altruistic activities, the philanthropic activities, they're not in connection ultimately with the Supreme. And that's all we have to do, really. Bhagavatam's message, just realize that at the center of everything is Krishna. Then you, in one place Prabhupada says that we are doing the same thing, but because Krishna is there, it becomes perfect, it becomes complete. It's not incomplete. And then everything comes into harmony. And without it, it may appear a certain way. Uh, uh, what is it? The all the good qualities of the demigods are automatically manifest in a person who has developed unalloyed devotion to the personality of Godhead. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has actually got no good qualities. Even though they become expert in mystic yoga and different perfections, they will be driven, Bhagavatam says, if you analyze it very carefully, will be driven by our own mental concocted ideas, and one will engage in the service of the external energy of the Lord and not in the service of the internal energy. And then that means again the cycle continues. So please, hopefully I've not deviated too much here from the today. We'll get to today's verse eventually, but hopefully it all connects. Yeah. So it appears then that the acquire of speculative knowledge is also considered a method of atonement. While performing fruitive activities, one can become free from the actions of sinful life through austerity, penance, celibacy, control of the mind and senses, truthfulness, and the practice of mystic yoga. By awakening knowledge, one may also neutralize sinful reactions. Neither of these methods, however, can free one from the tendency. I'm sorry? Oh, somebody came in. Hey, no problem. Uh, where was I say? Neither of these methods, however, can free one from the tendency to commit sinful activities. So this is another aspect. You may do atonement, but to become free from the tendency to commit, this is what we want to hear about. Prabhupada continues, by bhakti yoga, one can completely avoid the tendency for sinful life. Other methods are not very feasible. Therefore, the Vedic literature concludes that devotional service is more important than the methods of karmakand, or fruitive activities, and jnanakand. Only the path of devotional service is auspicious for everyone. Fruitive activities and speculative knowledge cannot independently liberate anyone, but devotional service, independent of karma and jnana, is so potent that one who has fixed his mind at the lotus feet of Krishna is guaranteed not to meet the Yamadutas, the order carriers of Yamaraj, even in dreams. To prove the strength of devotional service, Sukadeva Goswami described the history of Ajamil. So I'm not going to go into that description because we're going to be covering that as the verses go. And we'll go to today's verse, which is text number 15, which is leading up to hearing the story or the history of the life of Ajamil and how this story exemplifies very much this statement of the Bhagavatam, that only devotional service ultimately can free one from the tendency of sinful activity. It's amazing because, you know, becoming exalted in Brahman realization, it appears you're rising very high, and it is, it's very high. But one in the in the in the time scale, it's a long period of time. One may rise and rise and rise and rise. You think, yes, yes, yes. But then if again you have to come down from that platform, then what is the use? It becomes Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam, becomes a useless waste of time ultimately. The Bhagavatam says repeatedly through all the stories. So, text number 15. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayanaha agham dunvanti karshnyena nriharam eva bhaskara. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So this is a detailed purport. Again, the great acharyas have scrutinizingly studied all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all living entities. So this is scrutinizingly studying this subject matter. Translation. Only a rare person who has adopted complete unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. What a statement! Wow! He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. Read on, read on. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In the previous verse, Sukadeva Goswami gave the example that the dried leaves. Sorry, I must have been pressing on something. Shoot. Sorry, there's a little noise there. It's gone now, I think. Yeah, I think we're all right. Okay. In the previous verse, Sukadeva Goswami gave the example that the dried leaves of creepers beneath a bamboo tree may be completely burnt to ashes by fire, although the creepers may sprout again because the root is still in the ground. Similarly, because the root of sinful desire is not destroyed in the heart of a person who is cultivating knowledge, but who has no taste for devotional service, there is a possibility that his sinful desires will reappear. Oh, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-4. Shreya strim bhaktim udashyate vibo klishyanti ye kevalabodhalabdhaye. Speculators who undergo great labor to gain a meticulous understanding. Wonderful words Prabhupada's using here. They gain a meticulous understanding of the material world by distinguishing between sinful and pious activities, but who are not situated in devotional service are prone to material activities. Now, when Prabhupada, he says that they may fall down and become implicated in fruitive activities. It doesn't need to be a gross fall down. They ran off with a woman next door or something gross. In our mentality, we think in that, well, they fell down, so they must have gone off. But their fall down, as we mentioned a little earlier, can be just, they may open, instead of remaining on the purely spiritual platform, they fall down to functioning in very elevated ways, opening the schools, taking care of the sick and the poor people, and being concerned for humanity and possibly the animals, and so many wonderful good qualities. But they may fall down to those activities which are material. They're material. And uh, again, we in the modern age, we find it very difficult to understand. We easily become confused. Prabhupada said, just like in the marketplace, when there's gold, there's also what they call fool's gold. So if you don't know what real gold is, it's very easy to be tricked, to be bewildered, to thinking, oh, yes, I'll pay a lot of money for this gold, but it's actually not real gold. So similarly in spiritual life, we have to become acquainted very much. And the Bhagavatam is doing that so that we can understand what will bring us to the supreme destination and what will drop us off halfway and mean that we've got to go back again and keep going on this cycle. So they may fall down for becoming implicated in fruitive activities and become implicated in fruitive. If one becomes attached to devotional service, however, his desires for material enjoyment are automatically vanquished without separate endeavor. And we know that verse that Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Ganayatya Suvairagyam Ganam Chayada Hoitakam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead Vasudeva, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment. So the knowledge is there through the service to the Supreme Lord, guided by the Acharyas and the Shastras. Bhakti Pareshanubhavo Viraktir Anyatra Cha. If one is advanced in Krishna consciousness, material activities, both sinful and pious, automatically become distasteful to him. That is the test of Krishna consciousness. Both pious and impious activities are actually due to ignorance. You think, well, what's wrong with pious activities? It's not saying that there's something wrong with them. They're better than impious, but they actually both of pious and they're due to ignorance. And Prabhupada continues, because a living entity as an eternal servant of Krishna has no need to act for his personal sense gratification. Prabhupada speaking. Therefore, as soon as one is reclaimed to the platform of devotional service, he relinquishes his attachment for pious and impious activities and is interested only in what will satisfy Krishna. Tasmadikena manasa bhagavan sapatampati shrotavya kirtitavya sadhyeya puja sanicha. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly glorify the personality of Godhead. So this one pointed attention is required for the performance of real bhakti. And the one pointed attention connects to service of the mahats, the great souls. That will be explained further. He relinquishes his attachment for pious and impious activities and is interested only in what will satisfy Krishna. This process of bhakti, devotional service to Krishna, Vasudeva Parayana, relieves one from the reactions of all activities. Keep listening, people, because this is what we've joined this for. We hear about this process and it makes complete logical sense. And if we keep hearing it again and again from different angles and different stories and different pastimes, it will be embedded deeper and deeper into our consciousness, into our subconscious existence, so that we become fully focused in this process of bhakti without any distraction to pious, impious cultivation of knowledge and so on. And it says, this process of bhakti, devotional service to Krishna, Vasudeva Parayana, relieves one from the reactions of all activities. Since Maharaj Pariksit was a great devotee, the answers of his guru, Sukadeva Goswami, concerning Kamakand and Jnanakan could not satisfy him. Therefore, Sukadeva Goswami, knowing very well the heart of his disciple, explained the transcendental bliss of devotional service. The word Kechit, which is used in this verse, means a few people, but not all. Not everyone can become Krishna conscious, as Krishna himself explains in the Bhagavad Gita 7:3. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatanam api siddhanam kaschin mem viti tatvata. Excuse me. Out of many, excuse me again and again. Out of many thousands among men, translation, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, Krishna says, hardly one knows me in truth. End quote. Practically no one understands Krishna as he is, for Krishna cannot be understood through pious activities or the attainment of the most elevated speculative knowledge. Actually, the highest knowledge consists of understanding Krishna. Unintelligent men who do not understand Krishna are grossly puffed up, thinking that they are liberated or have themselves become Krishna or Narayan. This is ignorance. Avishuddha buddhaya. That verse says avishuddha. It becomes the higher, it becomes polluted the intelligence, and we think ourselves to be very elevated, but we're not. And that happens in bhakti also. We can become bewildered, and that's another sort of whole subject. Continuing Srila Prabhupada's purport. To indicate the purity of bhakti devotional service, Srila Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamritam Sindhu 1.1.11, Anyabilasita sunyam jnana karma janavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilam bhakti rutama. Quote, one should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. End quote. Srila Rupa Goswami further explains that bhakti is kleshagni subhada, which means if one takes to devotional service, all kinds of unnecessary labor and material distress cease entirely, and one achieves all good fortune. Bhakti is so powerful that it is Bhakti is so powerful that it is also said to be moksha lagu takrit. In other words, it minimizes the importance of liberation. So everyone wants liberation, but bhakti goes beyond liberation. Liberation from material suffering is natural a desire, but beyond this freedom from material desire, there's the ecstatic devotional service of loving exchange with the supreme lovable object and bestower of all benedictions. So this is another level beyond beyond liberation or moksha. Non-devotees, continuing, non-devotees must undergo material hardships because they are prone to commit sinful fruitive activities. The desire to commit sinful actions continues in their hearts due to ignorance. Now, my mind has gone to the path of bhakti and devotional service when one has not come to the platform of nishta and gone on to bhava, then the anatana vrittis, it may be that one will be prone in this anatana vritti to fruitive activities. One may commit sinful activities. One may fall down from the platform because of unsteadiness. So that can be experienced also in the process of bhakti. But we shouldn't be bewildered. We should understand, yes, that is because we are at the preliminary stages of bhakti. Maybe you've been doing it for 5, 10, 50 years, whatever years, but we may still be crossing the ocean of anatana vritti. So don't be disappointed. We have to understand that's not the end of devotional service. It's the midway place, and we have to continue, and we get stronger and get better association and do all the things that are required to go beyond the anartana vriti. And we'll find that that is the ultimate shelter. That's where real devotional service begin, at that process, at that place. I'll read that again. Non-devotees must undergo material hardships because they are prone to commit sinful fruitive activities. The desire to commit sinful actions continues in their hearts due to ignorance. These sinful actions are divided into three categories. And this is very detailed, so I'm going to not spend a lot of time here. Because as I mentioned at the beginning, the acharyas have scrutinizingly studied. So they've studied very carefully. These sinful actions are divided into three categories: pataka, mahapataka, and atipataka, and also in two divisions, parabdha and aparabdha. Parabdha refers to sinful reactions from which one is suffering at the present, and aparabdha refers to sources of potential suffering. We got lots of suffering, don't worry. Or yeah, maybe we should worry. When the seeds, the bija, of sinful reactions have not yet fructified, the reactions are called aparabdha. So there's those lying still. Nectar Devotion speaks about this. And Prabhupada continues, these seeds of sinful actions are unseen, but they are unlimited, and no one can trace when they were first planted. And these are amazing statements. We've the depth of our conditioning is fathomless. These seeds of sinful action are unseen. They're not yet fructified. They're still lying in seed. And like the roots that we heard about under that tree, they're ready to sprout. But they are unlimited and no one can trace when they were first planted. Because of parabdha sinful reactions that have already fructified, one is seen to have taken birth in a low family or to be suffering from other miseries. We're all quite familiar with the parabdha karma. Continuing. When one takes to devotional service, however, all phases of sinful life, including parabdha, aparabdha, and bija, are vanquished. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 11, 14, 19, Lord Krishna tells Uddhava, Yatagni Shushamridharchi. Sorry. Yatagni Shushamridharchi. Karot Yed Hamsi Basmas. Sorry, I'm not doing well with the Sanskrit. Karot Yed Hamsi Bashmasat. Tata Mad Vishaya Bhaktir Udhavainamsi Krishnasa. Apologies. My dear Uddhava, devotional service in relationship with me is like a blazing fire that can burn to ashes all the fuel of sinful activities supplied to it. End quote. How devotional service vanquishes the reactions of sinful life is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:33-6 in a verse spoken during Lord Kapiladev's instruction to his mother Devahuti. Devahuti said, and I'm not going to quote the Sanskrit because I don't want to, I'm just going to go to the English. My dear Lord, if even a person born in a family of dog eaters hears and repeats the chanting of your glories, offers respect to you, and remembers you, he is immediately greater than a brahmana and is therefore eligible to perform sacrifices. Therefore, what is to be said of one who has seen you directly? I'll continue. Prabhupada continues. He doesn't say more, but there's a whole discussion in itself you can see, but he's making the larger point in his purport. In the Padma Purana, there is a statement that persons whose hearts are always attached to the devotional service of Lord Vishnu, are immediately released from all the reactions of sinful life. These reactions generally exist in 4 phases. Some of them are ready to produce results immediately. Some are in the form of seeds, some are unmanifested, and some are current, as was discussed earlier. All such reactions are immediately nullified by devotional service. When devotional service, and hold on, I don't know if it's lights are coming up. Yeah. Krishna says, Sarvadhamam Parityagam Mamikam Saranam Branja Aham Tvam Sarvi Papibhyo Moksha Yashami Masajaha. You will be delivered. Abandon all varieties of religious life and surrender unto me. I will deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not be afraid. So Krishna will deliver us if we engage in this process of devotional service. He says it in the Bhagavad Gita. Don't be afraid. Have faith. So all such reactions are immediately nullified by devotional service. When devotional service is present in one's heart, desires to perform sinful activities have no place there. Sinful life is due to ignorance, which means forgetfulness of one's constitutional position as an eternal servant of God. But when one is fully Krishna conscious, he realizes that he is God's eternal servant. So one has to become fully Krishna conscious. That is a task. That is our lifelong mission. That is the perfection of human existence, to become fully Krishna conscious. So we have initial knowledge of this. It has to become, from Gyan, it has to become Vijnan, where we actually realize this. Jevara Swarupoi Nityara Krishna Das, that we're eternally the servant of Krishna. Sometimes we realize that and we serve Krishna. Other times we forget and we serve our senses, we serve our desires, we serve certain illusory concepts and so on. So this is the work that we're doing. And Krishna is very pleased because he's there in the heart and he's seeing our endeavors. Bhavagrahi Janadan, he is knowing the heart. Continuing Prabhupada's purport. In this regard, Srila Jiva Goswami comments that bhakti may be divided into two divisions. Santata, devotional service that continues incessantly with faith and love, and kadachitki, devotional service that does not continue incessantly, but is sometimes awakened, full stop. Incessantly flowing devotional service, santata, may also be divided into two categories. One, service performed with slight attachment, and two, spontaneous devotional service, full stop. Intermittent devotional service, kadachitki, may be divided into three categories. One, Rabhabasamai, devotional service in which one is almost attached. Two, Ragabhas Sunya Swarup Bhuta, devotional service in which there is no spontaneous love, but one likes the constitutional position of serving. So there's no spontaneous love, but one likes the position of serving Krishna. And three, Abhasrupa, a slight glimpse of devotional service. As Prabhupada continues, as for atonement, if one has caught even a slight glimpse of devotional service, all needs to undergo prayachita atonement are superseded. Therefore, and that I think has been rejected earlier, this idea, the process of prayachita, I think it was earlier discussed, that this idea of atonement, but then because the seeds of desire are lying in the heart, then again one may be prone to sinful activities. So this process doesn't work. It's described to be like the bathing of an elephant. The elephant bathes, and then after he bathes, he comes out and puts dirt all over his body. So again, this can happen by the process of praschita, because still within the heart they're lying. So we require a process that completely eradicates those seeds lying within the heart for sinful activity. So if one is caught even a slight glimpse of devotional service, all needs to undergo prayachita atonement are superseded. Therefore, atonement is certainly unnecessary when one has achieved spontaneous love and, above that, attachment with love, which are signs of increasing advancement in kadat chitki. Even in the stage of abhasrupa bhakti, all the reactions of sinful life are uprooted and vanquished. So even in abhas, which is not full, uh, full purified devotional spontaneous service. So even abhas, just like nambas, it's not completely pure chanting. So it's mixed. But even in that stage, there's benefits from chanting the holy name of the Lord. So in this way, the stage of abhas rupa bhakti, that uproots all the reactions to sinful life. And finally, last part of Prabhupada's purport. Srila Jiva Goswami expresses the opinion that the word kachnyena means that even if one has a desire to commit sinful actions, the roots of that desire are vanquished merely by abhas-rupa bhakti. I'm going to read that again. Srila Jiva Goswami, excuse me, Srila Jiva Goswami expresses the opinion that the word kachnyena means that even if one has a desire to commit sinful actions, the roots of that desire are vanquished merely by abhas-rupa bhakti. In continuing, the example of Bhaskar, the sun, is most appropriate. So Jiva Goswami is explaining this. The abhas feature of bhakti is compared to twilight, and the accumulation of one's sinful activities is compared to fog. So he's giving an example of the fog, the accumulation of one's sinful activities that may still be there is compared to fog, and abhas feature is compared to twilight. Since fog does not spread throughout the sky, the sun need do no more than merely manifest its first rays and the fog immediately disappears. Similarly, if one has even a slight relationship with devotional service, all the fog of his sinful life is immediately vanquished. Well, end of purport. His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I've pretty much spoken on this subject matter. It's a what would you say? Different acharyas have commented on different aspects of the life of Ajamil, the power of the holy name, the past association of Ajamil, the association, polluted association with the prostitute, his life as being very contaminated and engaged in all kinds of sinful activities, and how it is all coming into this pastime, this activity where the Vishnudutas are coming to save Ajamil from the Yamadutas taking him to Yamaraj, and the discussion between Yamaraj and his servants, the Yamadutas. And it's big discussion. So many angles of vision on this, but it is time and time again being presented that the power of the holy name of the Lord is absolute. Nam Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddha Nitya Mukta Binatva Namanamino. This name of Krishna is complete and is uncontaminated. It cannot be affected in any way. And it is of the same nature as the Lord and is even more merciful than the Lord himself. So sometimes we may feel that we can read this purport many times and we'll find where are we in this? Are we in the abhas? Are we in this section and this kind of way, and how are we affected? The main thing is to keep the main thing at the front of our life, which is to continue the process of bhakti, to realize, and by this careful study of Srimad Bhagavatam and the different literatures that Prabhupada has given to us to read, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Bhagavad Gita, Nectar Devotion, these wonderful literatures that is explaining everything we need to know how to come out of our different stages of contaminated consciousness. So that is the special mercy of the Supreme. What is that? Bhukti Mukti Siddhikami Sakali Ashanta. Krishna Bhakta Naishkama Ata Eva Shanta. It's described, I think that was Chaitanya Charitamrita, is Krishna Bhakti Naishkarma. So Krishna Bhakta is able to be peaceful in the bhukti and the mukti. The bhukti is the person interested in fruitive activities, and the mukti is the person who's interested in philosophical speculation for liberation. They are ashanta. They're not shanti. They're not peaceful ultimately because they have desire to fulfill. One wants mystic powers and elevation in that way, and the other one wants elevation through fruitive activities. The pious person engaged in fruitive activities wants elevation to Svargaloka and higher planetary systems, but he doesn't understand, due to ignorance. Prabhupada said that he will have to fall down from there because there's no ultimate position in the material existence. We are eternal servants of the Supreme. So so I think we'll finish there. And if anyone has any, please, any, I always forget the name, reflections. And if you've got a reflection, something, please feel free that you could share that now. And if you have any question, we could see if we can discuss it a little bit. I'm trying to check time. We got maybe 5 minutes or so.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam.
Jai.
So, thank you very much. Explained the verse so nicely from different angles, particularly bringing the essential point on that a devotee of the Lord is really understand his position. I mean, a pure devotee of the Lord understand his position in this material world, that he has been encompassed in a material body. So everything material, he has no relationship with them ultimately, because here he is just situated in a particular situation, and he is forced to act in such a way that is not consistent with his original position, that is, as a spirit soul. He's
Yes.
always, I mean, in a sort of uncomfortable situation always. And once we understand, that's why here in this verse it is saying that when someone is doing an offense and making prayaschitta or anything to counteract with material things, or by even with the knowledge. First, when he does it with a material action or prayaschitta sort of things, then he can only counteract, but he is engaged again in material activity. But when he has the knowledge that I should not do that, I mean, I should be free from this acting on this sort of activities. He is getting free. I mean, he has got that knowledge, but he doesn't have the ability to to act in such a way that will be free from that. So only way to come out of that is devotional service and understanding his relationship with the Lord, and what is a devotee is doing. That's just as you have quoted from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Bhukti Mukti, Bhukti Mukti, and they are all Ashanta. That means they have a desire. So,
Yeah.
so they have a desire, so they are always uh, have to, their mind is somehow attached to something. But a pure devotee of the Lord has no desire. So he is really free in that way. And here the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also telling that when we understand that and establish our relationship with the Lord, then we are free from this attachment of this material world. Although we are acting here, we are acting as a just in a theater or somewhere. We are acting, but we know that it is only an acting. And
Yeah. So, yes, just as you were explaining some of those points, thank you. Thank you. It's nice. And I was thinking the power of ignorance is so very strong that we think we think ourselves, our existential position, i.e., that what we're experiencing in life, we see it that I have a nice home, I have a nice wife, I have nice children, I have a nice car. This is my position. This is kind of where I am. But we're not at all. That's the biggest illusion. It's there. All those things may be there, but actually our position, and if you look at the Bhagavatam, the covers of some of the Bhagavatam, we're actually in a material ocean, and we're drowning in this ocean, and occasionally, that's what the Bhagavatam describes. We're drowning. That's our position, and occasionally we pop our head up above the waves, and we get, just like that punishment is there. Prabhupada used that example, the punishment of the pushing the person, the criminal, into the water, and then they keep him underwater till he's nearly going to die, and then they bring him up, and then he gasps for air, and then again he's put down. This is actually our position, and it's a fact, but we think, oh yeah, I've got this, I've got that, everything's good, I'm young, we identify with all this stuff, but the reality is that we're in an ocean of suffering, and occasionally we get a little relief from it. The sun comes up, or whatever situation changes for a bit, and we think, yeah, yeah, this is me. It's all good. It's all good. And again, we're pushed under. And we were listening yesterday. Prabhupada was saying to a brahmachari, I'm trying to think where that was exactly. It was, yeah. Who was that? It was what is his name? It was Recollections of Prabhupada. It was Yasomatinanda, an Indian devotee, who's passed away now. Uh, yeah, and he was, his recollection was there, and it was about being a brahmachari. He was going to join the temple in the very early days, and then he said, Prabhupada asked him, "You thinking of marrying?" Something like that. Yeah, he said, thinking of marrying? And he said, "No, no, no." And then Prabhupada said, "Yes, it's better." He's, so at that time, he became a grihastha later, but at that time, he was a young man, very young, and he became a brahmachari. And then Prabhupada said to him, he said, "Yes." He said, best to be brahmachari if you can do that. He said, becoming grihastha, he said it's like placing a big stone on your head. And I was laughing about it. I said, "Oh, that was pretty cool," because it's such a burden. If you put a big stone, a big stone on you, a big rock, let's use the word rock, a big rock on you, it's a great burden. So becoming implicated, hey guys, I'm not having a go at the greyhastas. We're all 99.9, don't worry. But it's a great burden. And it's not just for the man, it's a burden for the woman, it's a burden for everyone because it's all about this world. So naturally, again, another example we know is the thorn. The thorn is maybe giving you difficulty, but Bhagavatam gives that example. You can use a thorn to remove a thorn. So you might have a thorn in your hand, it's causing you trouble. So you can find another thorn if it's a good strong one, and you can pull that thorn out by the other thorn. So, but anyway, it was so funny that Prabhupada said like that, and he said at the time, he said, "Wow," he said, that seems true." So these examples are there to shock us and to help us see our actual position. We want happiness. We're here in this world trying to get it, and I've mentioned many times, it's like trying to get comfortable on a cactus. It's just not going to happen. You can adjust this way and that. So So we're so fortunate. Sorry, this is supposed to be for reflections. I'll be quiet. So any other reflections before we sign off? Okay,
Hare Krishna, Bhagavan.
we can finish now, I think.
Nanda Brajaru, Hare Krishna.
Oh, Nanda Braj, would you like to say something, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Please, please.
Just reading this verse and the purport is
Yes.
so excellent. The Prabhupada, the way he expresses the implication of sinful activities and how one can be removed. I was just reading and just mind blowing the way Prabhupada analyzes and then puts the solution. One can write a whole book about it.
Yeah, it's wonderful, isn't it? It's such a wonderful purport.
And just
And when I was reading it, I connected it pretty much to the introduction of the chapter that Prabhupada read. So together, it's very comprehensive. You could basically read this, and that's all you'd have to do to become Krishna conscious totally. You just take this up and carry on, and you'll be fine.
And some of the analogies used are also so relevant. It says, devotional service in relation with me is like a blazing fire that can burn to ashes all the fuel of sinful activities supplied to it. This is quoting from, I think, other quoting in Srimad Bhagavatam. And then about the fog, it says that the Abha's future is just compared to twilight. When the sun comes up, the sinful activities just start disappearing like the fog disappears in the morning sun.
Yes.
So
we have to keep that sun shining. So excuse me, Krishna comes up in our life, and Maya's business is to cover, and we have to keep that Surya, Krishna Surya Tam Maya Hai Andhakara, Yahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Maya Adhika. We have to keep that sun shining. So that's why we have daily Bhagavatam, isn't it? And that's why we read Prabhupada's books, so that we can keep the sun. And then the fog, which will come in if we're not careful, if it becomes too dark. Thanks, Nando Braj. Thanks for bringing out those points. The Prabhupada's written it so beautifully.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
So we'll finish at that point. Thank you, Prabhus. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss together. Thank you very much.
Vancha kalpatarubhesya.
Vancha
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Nanta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhus.
Hare Krishna.